But, you know, there is a reason why Donald Trump fears Robert Mueller in front of the TV cameras with the nation's attention turned to him more than anything else.
No, I said in my opening statement that part of the building of the case was predated me. And
Motherfucker, I almost had him. You stuttering prick.
This will be, I've got to believe, some of the most compelling testimony that will stop tens of millions of Americans in their tracks.
I wonder about you sometimes. You may fold under questioning.
Of Americans in their tracks, and they will, for the first time, understand the content of the Mueller report. That is why Donald Trump is so scared of him having this moment in the sun.
Can you repeat the question, sir? That went a little fast for me. Could you repeat that, ma'am? Can you repeat the last part of that question?
Yeah.
Can you repeat the question?
The impact. Pardon?
Can you read the last question?
The last question was
I want to make certain I got it accurate. Again, can you repeat the question? And where are you reading from on that?
I'm reading from my question.
Then could you repeat it?
Okay.
This is very, very painful. Those aren't my words, but David Axelrod, a Democrat, tweeting about the hearing.
Robert Mueller is the lead character. He's the star of this story, the man who has been immersed in these witnesses, immersed in this evidence for more than 2 years, who understands the story better than anyone else in the country and can explain it perhaps better than anyone else in the country. And
well, I would have to refer you to the report on that, direct you to the report for how that is characterized, and would direct you to the report itself.
Okay. Well, I looked at the 182 pages of it.
It's outside my purview. It's outside my purview. Outside my purview. It is still outside my purview. I can't answer that question. Now, can't get into details. I can't get into that. The letter stands for itself. I can't get into it. I can't get into that internal deliberations. I am not going to get into that.
not from a partisan point of view, but from a factual point of view. And I think that is the power, is that he is viewed as apolitical in this, a man without an agenda, a man who's respected by Republicans and Democrats alike, despite what the President of the United States says. So to hear it from his mouth may change some hearts and minds. But again, I think my question is, will he answer direct questions, or will he stand by what he said, which is the report is my testimony? Anything that comes outside the outlines of that 450-page report, I'm just not going to answer those questions. It's up to you, Congress, to answer those questions, and that's what he said.
I'm not going to answer that.
Okay, fine.
I'm not going to go beyond that, and that letter speaks for itself. I can't speak to that. Well, I'm not going to get into that any further than I already have. I can't go into the discussion of our investigative moves. I get into that at this juncture.
Okay.
And that's an area which I cannot get into.
Yeah, but Mika, the only thing I'll say there is it is his responsibility as a public servant to explain some of his reasoning and some of his conclusions to lay people across America whose tax dollars paid for him to work on this very important project over the course of a couple of years. So just saying I'm too good to answer these questions, or I'm going to be stubborn and I'm not going to, no. He has a responsibility to explain to the American people, to laymen across America who may not have gone to Princeton, who may not have gone to University of Virginia Law School, exactly what he found.
Christopher Steele, in the course of your investigation.
And I am not going to answer that question, sir.
What would be your characterization?
I'm not going to speak any more to it.
So you can't speak any more to it, but you're not going to agree with my characterization.
So, Joe, I think you're right, and I think he can do that. And I think what Trump, but I don't think it'll be staggering, because most people know that Trump is corrupt and criminal-like in his behavior and his thinking. He's told us that, the president himself. But what Bob Mueller, what's so frightening about him for Trump is that he will visually represent good versus evil.
Trump has long complained about the media being unfair to him. Now, maybe he has a point?
He will visually send that branding out to America over the course of 2 days, and that scares Trump more than the truth. The truth's already out. It's come out of Trump's mouth. He is corrupt. Joining us now, Chairman of the House Judiciary Committee, Democratic Congressman Jerry Nadler of New York. It's great to have you on the show, Congressman Nadler.
Good to be here. He did, I think it was an inflection point because Mueller's appearance essentially did one thing. The president and the attorney general especially continually lied to the American people, and they continually said that the Mueller report, the investigation, showed totally exonerated the president and showed no collusion and no obstruction.
The investigation did not establish that members of the Trump campaign conspired or coordinated with the Russian government in its election interference activities.
All three of those statements are flat-out lies.
The investigation did not establish that members of the Trump campaign conspired or coordinated with the Russian government in its election interference activities.
The report showed, and Mueller said at the hearings, the report showed that the Russians attacked our election. The Russian government tried to subvert an American election, subvert our democracy. The Trump campaign welcomed that attack, and to the extent they could, cooperated with it, and in fact formed part of their messaging strategy in the last month of the campaign around the expectation of the release of stolen materials stolen by the Russians. The president engaged in multiple the report showed substantial evidence of the president engaging in multiple acts of criminal obstruction of justice, trying to shut down the investigation.
Have you ever fired a special counsel, Mr. Mueller?
No.
No. Were you allowed to complete your investigation unencumbered?
Yes.
Divert it, and that he lied to investigators, he lied to the public, and he told other people to lie to investigators. All of those things are very serious offenses, and the report showed them.
The Deputy Attorney General and I concluded that the evidence developed by the special counsel is not sufficient to establish that the president committed an obstruction of justice offense.
So basically the report gave the lie to the exoneration rhetoric of the president and the attorney general. Now, in the inquiry which we are pursuing, which the Judiciary Committee is pursuing, we will have to get the fact witnesses. We've gone to court to get the grand jury material. We're going to court today or tomorrow to get the to force McGahn, the former White House counsel, to respect our subpoena. And we will get, and once we win that, we'll win all the other subpoenas because they're basically the same legal questions.
On Wednesday, a federal judge ruled that 2 legal cases the House Judiciary Committee is following should not be combined. Essentially, the House wanted to put together 2 existing lawsuits, the suit against ex-White House counsel Don McGahn and its petition to obtain grand jury materials from Robert Mueller's investigation.
And we will get, and once we win that, we'll win all the other subpoenas because they're basically the same legal questions.
It argued the cases are both closely related to its impeachment investigation and that they both, quote, seek key evidence on whether the Judiciary Committee should recommend impeaching President Trump. Combining them would mean that both cases would be heard by the same judge. But the Department of Justice said the cases should not be linked. It alleged the House panel was attempting to game the system by shopping for a judge they perceive as more favorable to their cause.
We will have public hearings in which we will have McGahn say, the president told me this, the president told me that. We'll get the Mueller report was a summary of evidence. It's not the evidence. We will have the evidence in public hearings in front of the American people, and then we will see about the conclusions.
Well, D.C. District Court Chief Judge Beryl Howell, who issued Wednesday's ruling, sided with the Justice Department. She said it was understandable why the House would want to link the cases, but that, quote, closer examination demonstrates that these connections between the 2 cases are too superficial. Her 11-page ruling argues that the committee is trying to compel McGahn to testify publicly, but that it would take steps to stop secret grand jury material from being released, meaning different legal principles would apply. Her ruling also means the McGahn case will be transferred to a randomly assigned judge.
I am your voice.